Welcome to the second part of our lab where we are investigating fraud. So let's pick up where we left off in video one and let's hop over to the computer and start analyzing this data. On your screen, you should be familiar with this Excel file from part one of this series of videos. We have three tabs. We have transactions, we have summary, we have price list. And if you're not familiar or you're not remembering what we're doing here, go back and watch part one. But the first thing I want to do here, and again, our goal is to uncover any indications of fraud. And one thing that we can check is this data set we know is supposed to have transactions that have occurred between September 14th, 2020 and September 20th, 2020. So one thing we can do is we can just select this entire table and we can insert a pivot table, not a table, insert a pivot table into a new worksheet. And we can use this pivot table to determine whether or not the dates make sense. So let's put the dates in the rows here. And let's put it also in the values column. So we'll put the count as well. And it looks like we have, as we would expect, transactions falling between September 14th and September 20th, 2020. Okay, so it looks like the dates are okay. There's no particular red flag here with the dates. There's no transactions falling outside of what we expect. And so that's just a real basic audit technique that you can do to verify that what you understand about this data is actually showing up in the data itself. Okay. Another thing we would want to get a sense for is let's insert a second pivot table here. Let's figure out how many stores we're working with here. So let's create a second pivot table and let's add the store to the rows. And I'm also going to add store to the values field. And you'll see Excel gives us a count of the number of stores or the number of transactions for each store. So interestingly, it looks like we have 945 transactions by store, and we have about 4,320 transactions per date. And so initially that's, it's a bit curious to me that they're all exactly equal. I wouldn't expect that in real data. So that kind of has me wondering what's going on here. Another thing we would want to do with regards to stores is we want to know just how many different stores there are. And let's just let's put a count in here. So let's just do 1, 2, 3. And so this is a real basic thing. I'm not setting up any formulas because it's just quicker to carry down the manual count. And it looks like we have 32 stores, 32 different stores, 945 transactions in each store, and about 4,320 sales per day within our data range. What else could we work with here? So we could set something up. If we go back to our pivot table, we could add maybe time as a column, maybe. And so in this pivot table, we can see here's the dates for when these transactions occurred, and then by each date, how many transactions occur at each time. So looks like we have 384 transactions per hour from 10 or 9 a.m. all the way through 7 p.m. It looks like at 8 p.m. transactions dip to about 96 on each day. Again, this is causing me to wonder to myself, is this fabricated data? Because 384 transactions per hour, exactly that amount on every day, is a little fishy. I wouldn't expect real data to have a distribution of transactions that are this even. Or in fact, it's not even, it's identical. The distribution is flat, so it's a uniform distribution. Exactly 384 transactions per hour from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. That is a little unusual. I would not expect that in real data. what else could we do? We could add a pivot table for if we wanted to look at the cashiers. So let's again select this range. Sorry, Control A, and I'm going to say, hold on a second here. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to say Control A, and I'm going to say Insert Pivot Table, and I'm going to put it in a new worksheet. And let's put the cashier number in here. See if there's anything unusual with the cashiers. And let's put the cashier number in the values so that we have a count. So it looks like each cashier has done exactly 315, processed 315 transactions. That's unusual. Again, everything about this being exactly the same number for every date, for every hour, for every cashier, um, for every store. That is very unusual. I would not expect that in real world data. It doesn't ever come out that clean, so that's raising my suspicions. Um, and then we can count the number of cashiers we have. So 1, 2, 3, and it looks like we have 96 cashiers. So now we have summary of cashiers. Sheet 2 was the summary of stores. So I'm just renaming these tabs so that I know or I can remember what I did. So this is summary by date, time. Okay, what else can we look at in here? So we analyzed the store, the cashiers, the date and time. I wouldn't expect there to be more than one transaction per transaction number, so we could certainly insert a pivot table for that. So let's look at put transaction number in the rows and put transaction number in the values as well. And we don't want the sum, we want a count. So I'm going to change the value field settings from sum to count. And it looks like just initially, it looks like we have what we would expect. So let's just highlight this whole range, see what the maximum is here. So it looks like, what do we got here? Average is 1. Yeah, so it looks like every transaction here is in the 1 range. So I'm going to say max. So let's select this. Uh, And what I'm doing now is I just want to verify that, as I would expect, that there is only one transaction per transaction number. If we had two transactions that had the same transaction number, we would have a serious issue. That would be a red flag as well. So I'm just checking this. I'm scrolling through quickly. It looks like so far everything is 1, and the way I'm able to tell that is if I look down the bottom right of the screen here, it has the average. And so the average is 1. You wouldn't get an average of exactly 1 if you had values in here that um, were greater than 1 or less than 1. So I'm just quickly going through this to make sure that it looks the way it should. I'm not missing anything. Let's go back up here. Yeah. Okay. So that is also looking good as we would expect. This is let's see, summary of transaction number. If we think about, so we looked at transactions. If we wanted to get a sense for amounts, we could also insert a pivot table. So I'm going to say, let's insert a pivot table, and I'm going to put let's put the amounts in the rows here, and let's see, let's put the counts. Um, let's change this to count here, and I want to see how many times transactions at a particular amount show up. So it looks like the biggest return we have. So this is negative 199.99. This is indicating a negative indicates a return of a product, and the positive indicates a sale of a product. So we can see we have 145 returns in the amount of $199. Looks like the biggest number or the largest quantity of transactions are for products that are $9.99. The smallest, just eyeballing this here, looks like it's maybe $49.99 is the one that sells the least. So this is summary of transaction amounts. And again, what I'm trying to do here is before I get into analyzing the transactions, I want to understand what I'm working with and kind of like the outline of this data. What are its limits? What are its minimums? And if I see things that are not as I would expect, maybe potentially those are red flags just from a preliminary test here. And then we have cashier reports. And so let's get a sense for what those look like, and then we'll call it a day here. So I'm going to insert one more pivot table, and I'm going to look at cashier and store reports. So let's put cashier reports, store reports, and let's put this in. You know what? I don't like this. So I'm just going to redo this. I'm going to remove this, remove this. So let's remove. So let's start with cashier reports. Okay, so we have looks like, let's count this here. Put the values in here. Let's do a value field setting, count. So it looks like we have 45 cashier reports for basically each cashier report. So that's a little funny here. It looks like we have one here. I wouldn't want to flag this one. This one doesn't fit the rest of the pattern. It looks like there's 135 store reports for here for this. And so what I could do is I could just create a formula, and I could say 45 seems to be the magic number. And if we don't see 45, that's suspicious to me. It's just without knowing anything more about what's going on, I want to see. So if this is not equal to 45, I want to say flag. And if it is equal to 45, I just want to leave it blank. And I'm just going to drag this all the way down. And it looks like we are not getting what we want here. You know what? I'm going to do copy paste special. Bear with me a second. So, working with data, sometimes, the first time you try to do something, it doesn't turn out as you would expect. So I'm just going to say paste special values, and I'm going to take this formula and I'm going to say if equals if this is not equal to, no, if I want to say E4, if E4 is not equal to 45, I want to flag it. If not, I want to leave it blank. All right, let's see what that looks like. Okay, and then copy this, go down to the bottom, copy it up. And looks like I could put a filter on this now, and now I have some flags that I can work with. So I'm going to say data, let's add a filter, and let's pick only the flags. So now I kind of have a subset of items where there aren't 45 sales reports here, and that kind of stands out to me. And these potentially would be ones that I would want to follow up on and understand why they have more than the others. All right, we could do the same thing with the store reports, but that's the basic idea. So your first pass in, and let me come back and talk to you about, so when we're working with a new data set, I think the instinct is to just dive right in and start doing your analyses and trying to track down the fraud right away. But a lot of good data analysis, so a lot of what makes data analysis or what separates good data analysis from bad data analysis is really investing the time up front to understand the data that you're working with. What are the different fields that are contained in the data? What are the different tables that are in the database? And for each of those fields, how many observations do you have? So how many rows? What are the minimums and the maximums, and what are the highs and the lows? And are there things that stick out from others? Are there, do we see a set of transactions where the average is X and we have one transaction that's Y? And so what we're trying to do in the beginning is to get a sense of the shape of the data that we're working with and the shape of the problem that we're trying to tackle. And once we have a good understanding of that, then we can narrow our focus and start doing very targeted strategic tests to find what we're looking for. So that's the point of this video. I just wanted to walk you through how I would go through this data and try to understand what's going on so that I'm ready to do more thorough testing in the next videos. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon. Take care.